Hello, my friends. Hello, friends. How are you doing? It's Elvis X. I'm back again, bringing you another Dubster dive. And, oh man, I don't even know where to begin with this one. So to start with, we've covered a couple of anime based on games here. We covered the God Eater anime, which tries retelling the events of the game, the first way to do a game anime adaptation. And then we did the Devil May Cry anime adaptation, the second way to adapt an anime into a game, or game into an anime, rather. I can't even talk. Where basically you take the game and have the anime be more of a spin-off that adds to the game's story or does its own thing entirely. If I had to pick one I prefer, it would probably be the latter option. That way, new fans and old fans alike can get a brand new experience. And if done correctly, then new fans might be encouraged to go check out the product, whereas old fans might get a new story that they find quite interesting. Which is why, to be honest, comparing God Eater and DMC, from an enjoyment standpoint, I will say I enjoyed the DMC anime a bit more. Maybe I should have graded it a little higher than I did. Oh well. So, the topic of today's videos, the Muv Luv visual novels. Yeah, it's about time we talk about these, huh? The one visual novel series, Muv Luv Alternative in particular, that has a higher rating than Steins Gate, making it, as of right now, the highest rated visual novel, period. Full stop. There is none that's been rated higher than it. And after my good friend Nomi Swins has been hounding me to play these games for the last 2 years, within the last 3 months, I have marathoned the entire trilogy. That includes Muv Luv Extra, Muv Luv Unlimited, and Muv Luv Alternative. And I am partway through Photon Flowers, Muv Luv's spin-off. So during this, I decided to check out the anime, Muv Luv Alternative Total Eclipse. And, well, it's not very good. But we'll get to that in a bit. For those who don't know what Muv Luv is, it's going to take a bit to set up, so work with me here if you don't mind. Muv Luv is a series of visual novels developed by Age and was released in 2003. It is a pseudo-sequel to the visual novel Rumbling Hearts, which came out before that, which also has its own anime adaptation. That'll come in time. Patience. Anyway, so Muv Luv Extra follows Shirogane Takeru, and it's basically his everyday high school life. It's a rom-com of sorts, and on its own, it's okay. Where the real story kicks in, though, is in the second 2 games in this trilogy, Unlimited and Alternative. One night, Takeru goes to sleep, and he then wakes up in an alternate world, hence the names. So basically, he gets isekai. Before the isekai genre was completely drowned out. Anyway, you could think Muv Luv Extra as being our world, and the alternate world line being Attack on Titan. Basically, the world has been overrun. It's post-apocalyptic from an alien invading race known as the Beta. Yes, I cracked up every time I read that too, don't worry. Beta is an anagram standing for beings of extraterrestrial origin that are adversaries of humanity. So at least there's a reason they're called that. Even though I kept thinking Beta the whole time. So Shirogane Takeru was forced into this world against his will and is now forced to fight alongside humanity's remnants against an overwhelming force of alien creatures that he has barely any hope of defeating, as well as potentially find his way back home and solve the mystery of exactly what the hell is going on here. It's an interesting setup, and was actually the #1 inspiration for Attack on Titan. So I think I don't need to tell you it is pretty good. And I'm pretty certain it also inspired Steins Gate. Those who've read Alternative will know exactly what I'm talking about with some of the things going on. But I'm not going to spoil any of that shit. I want people to actually go play those visual novels for themselves. After playing Alternative in particular, would I say it's worth the hype? I had problems with it, but yeah, I'd say it's pretty fucking good. Now, you might be wondering, what does this have to do with the anime? Absolutely nothing, and this is where the problem starts showing up. So, the anime, aptly titled Muv Luv Alternative Total Eclipse because it takes place in the alternative world line, is already a mouthful in of itself and probably confusing to people who aren't familiar with the visual novels that don't know there are multiple world lines. So, let's begin with Alternative Total Eclipse, I guess. In 2007, after Alternative had wrapped up and the mainline trilogy was done, they decided to branch out with a series of light novels. And these light novels were called Alternative Total Eclipse, naturally. 6 light novels were created, and the anime would then air in July of 2012 and run for 26 episodes. Did I say 26? That's a 5. Am I daft? So 25 episodes. The anime was produced by Studio Satellite, the people behind Nanbaka, Somali and the Forest Spirits, and the first several arcs of Fairy Tail. So, they at least had a decent pedigree behind them, and you're not going to hear many people complaining about the animation here. So, going from there, Sentai Filmworks would announce in 2014 they had acquired the rights to this anime, and would put out an English dub in January of 2015. As of right now, I'm not even certain they still own the rights to it. I believe they still do, so you might be able to find the Blu-rays. I don't know. That being said, let's get started. Ironically enough, this anime came out in English before the Muv Luv trilogies were officially translated. So, this is technically English-speaking people's first official exposure to Muv Luv, I guess. Alright, so this has nothing to do with Takeru or any of the characters from the visual novels. Which means we're not getting Best Girl Tamase, are we? Alright. I will say this, the anime's opening first 2 episodes, now that we're at the plot summary, do an amazing job of showing the hopelessness of the situation. We follow the character Yui Takamura as she's training to become a surface pilot. They're basically the only people that can take on the alien creatures known as the Beta that have overrun the world in mecha suits. Yeah, I know, another mecha, but trust me, Muv Luv is really fucking good. So, she sets up a rivalry with someone else on her squad, and everything's looking by the numbers until the Beta attack the capital of Japan where she's staying and completely annihilate it. The aliens fuck this place up, kill her entire squad in front of her, and she barely makes it out. Again, the first 2 episodes are an amazing setup for things to come and make you think, damn, are we actually going to get some really awesome action here? Then episode 3 and onward happens. In episode 3, I'm not going to spoil too much, don't worry. We get introduced to our real main character. Yeah, it does a protag switch. Yuya Bridges, another cadet who's Japanese that migrated to America to begin his training. He's known as the best pilot in all of Nevada. Thus, he ends up going to the Alaskan base, which is the, I guess, the wall that protects America from the Beta, in order to train farther. But he's not the only one. There's people from all over the world there. Yui is naturally there as the squad leader, being as how this takes place several years after the first 2 episodes. And you have people from Sweden, Turkey, and everywhere else. Pretty well mixed-matched cast of people. And for the most part, everything starts off fine. Yuya is kind of a dick, but he has valid reasons for doing so. I won't go into those at the moment, because again, spoilers. Yui, naturally, after everything that she suffered, is quite traumatized and hates the beta and wants vengeance. So she's obviously standoffish from the rest of the group and is very hard to get along with. And the people from Turkey and Sweden had their countries conquered by the aliens, so again, you have good motivation set up here, and this squad is forced to get along with people that they normally wouldn't. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of racist undertones in this anime, so... For example, there's a moment where they call Yuya American trailer trash, and I cracked up at that, because it's like, wow, really? Everything is set up decently for this show. But as it goes on, and Yuya slowly starts warming up to everyone around him and stops being standoffish, as does Yui, it slowly devolves into your typical mecha harem. Why? You had everything going for you. You didn't have to go the generic cliche route. In fact, the beta don't even play that much of a role here. And that's the sad part. The aliens that the anime set up in its first 2 episodes don't even show up again until like episode 9 or 10. And then they fuck off again till the last handful of episodes. It's really strange. The show wanted to focus more on developing the romance and the characters' training, which would have been fine if this weren't a 25-episode anime. But because of that, it feels like at the end, it goes at a breakneck pace to get to its own conclusion. Which, by the way, it doesn't even end. Yes, an anime spin-off that has nothing to do with the games, so it could tell its own story, doesn't even have a proper ending. How do you fuck this up? It is perfect. You could have easily wrapped this up if you wanted to. Which, I should get into this. It did actually technically wrap up. You see, Alternative Total Eclipse had a visual novel sequel to the anime and light novels that was released for PS3, 360, and PC. That hasn't been translated yet. You see, as I stated, this was the first English exposure of Muv Luv in an official capacity. The visual novels weren't translated till a couple of years later, for they were funded on Kickstarter, and then they were dumped onto Steam in 2016 and onward respectively. So they followed the main trilogy first. That makes sense. Then Photon Flowers, which is a spin-off. Again, they're going, it seems like chronological order with everything. So, makes sense. Thus, this game, that's a sequel to the anime, might not even be translated, if ever. Why? I just... So, rushed ending, cliche plot lines, character threads that are left hanging because people didn't get the rest of their development, because again, saving that for the VN, I guess. And by the end, it's turned into a harem where everyone wants Yuya's D, because again, VN sequel dating sim. I haven't gotten any spoilers, so I don't think anyone can really shun me for that. If anything, I'd probably save you time for those that hate non-endings, because as a Muv Luv fan myself now, I could say that this anime kind of pissed me off in that regard. On to animation. Again, from what I've seen online, everyone says the animation was fair and decent, especially for a game-to-anime adaptation, because those tend to vary. The soundtrack and audio department, I will say that they actually did a good job with the audio. It uses the same sound effects from the games when the mechs are walking or shooting and everything like that. Again, marathon the VNs for the last 3 months, so I have all these audio cues burned into my brain. I guess I should bring up another problem with the anime, though, before I forget to mention. A lot of times it doesn't mention terminology to newcomers. For example, the beta. there are different classes of beta, but the anime doesn't explain that. They mention laser class, berserker class, grappler class. You might be able to pick up on context clues of which one does what, but the game actually goes in detail up to what each one is, so you have time to adjust to, okay, that's the laser, that's this, that's that. The anime doesn't really do that, so newcomers have fun, I guess. That being said, the beta, from what everyone says, were designed perfectly. But the music, on the other hand, they didn't use music from the VNs. Why? It's okay to have your own original songs, but I was hoping for at least a few tracks from the game. It's the same thing the Devil May Cry anime did. Granted, the God Eater anime used the game's OST in a sense, but I don't know. I feel like if you're going to adapt a game, you should at least use a couple of key tracks from the games. That way fans can mark out over it. The OST is passable. Again, it's just background noise. Most of the time during the fight scenes, they use licensed tracks anyways, rather than the show's own OST, meaning they weren't even confidently able to come up with good background music. Now, let's move on to the dubcast. The reason this is called Dubster Live. Firstly, the ADR director is Kyle Jones, known for his work on Danmachi and other Sentai stuff. And we'll get to this in a minute. First, I want to wrap up the dubcast. So, we have Yuya, voiced by Corey Hartzog, if that is how you pronounce his name, from Akame ga Kill fame. He voiced Pro Tycoon in that, or Tatsumi. And I'd say he does an okay job here. Again, let me get through these, and then I'll give my thoughts on the dub. Next, we have Yui, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of this. Voiced by Crystal Laporte, I think? She was also in Overlord Season 2, but this is my first time hearing her in a main role capacity, and I'd say she was probably the best VA here in this dubcast, in my opinion. The MVP, if you will. Speaking of her, Chris Harris is also in this dub, for those of you that love his Frieza interpretation. But, yes, that was nice. Next, we have Kriska, voiced by Christine Otten, if that's how you pronounce her name. I don't know, I apologize, I'm sorry. She's Asdeath from Akame ga Kill, or Teacher from Full Metal Alchemist. So, it's a treat to hear her again. Next, we have Enya, voiced by Brittany Karbowski. You know, Rimuru from Slime, Wendy from Fairy Tail. Typical Sentai regular that we've covered here a lot lately. And I guess the last one of the harem is Teresa, voiced by Terry Doty. I've never heard her as Sentai dub before in my life, and I'm not sure she's ever been in one since. Someone can correct me on that. But, yeah, for those who don't know, she's Virgo from Fairy Tail, just to name probably one of her most prominent roles. She was also the main in Recovery of an MMO Junkie, a show I probably should cover at some point. But, yeah. Rounding out the cast, you have Blake Shepard, Dave Matranga, just to name a few. Overall, this dub is very average. That's the best I can say about it. No one here does an awful job, but no one really brings their A game in my opinion either. Save for Crystal as Yui. The rest of them feel like they're going through the motions of just, oh, it's another dub, so let's just get this over with. That's the feeling I got for a lot of the scenes. It's not bad, but I've heard all of these voice actors in much better roles. Again, Corey isn't a bad voice actor in this dub by any means, but after hearing him in Akame ga Kill, I can tell which one he had way more fun with. And, well, Brittany is, well, playing the typical lolly again, so it's just par for the course with her, I guess. As far as Blake Shepard, do I even really need to say anything at this point? After hearing him as Shiryu in Saint Seiya and Soma in Food Wars, I can confidently say this is nowhere near his best work that I've heard. So, I don't think that's the ADR director's fault by any means. I just think they weren't feeling it with this one. Like I said, it's not an awful dub. Please don't think I'm saying that. All I'm saying is, it's just an average dub. If you're familiar with Sentai's work, I don't think you'll be disappointed. But if you've heard them a shit ton in other shows that you know they've done better in, you get the point. That being said, I'm going to give this show... I'm hanging somewhere between a D+ and a C-. I think I might go with a D+. I don't know. It has well-written moments, and it has the potential to be good, but its biggest obstacles are blatantly clear. The fact that it has a very strong start and then devolves into cliché genericism really hurts it. And the fact that the characters, while okay, don't really finish their full development because of the sequel VN problem. And if I could give any advice to anyone who may or may never be listening that's wanting to do a multimedia franchise like this, don't ever do an anime and then do a sequel VN to that anime. I don't understand the point of that. Because if the anime flops, then no one's going to be interested in the VN. And then people who pick up the VN are going to be confused as to what the hell they missed. But worst of all, after finishing this anime, it's forgettable. And for Muv Luv standards, one of the top visual novels, period. Again, I can't stress enough how good Alternative is and how high it was rated by everybody. That's not a good thing. This is easily probably the worst Muv Luv thing I've sat through. And that includes the additional routes and extra. For those who've played the game know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the non-canon ones. Yes. I'm sure lots of people are going to disagree with me, and that's cool. That's fine. But yeah. I'd recommend this only to those who have played the VNs and are curious. Maybe the light novels are better. Maybe the VN adaptation that's a sequel to this is better. I don't know. But what I can say is, if you're even remotely interested in checking out Muv Luv the visual novels at any point, which I hope so, don't watch this show. Even on its own, judging it based on its own merits, it's just another generic mecha harem. It doesn't really do all that much to stand out, apart from its amazing first couple of episodes that set the tone really well. In fact, if you remove the beta in terms like TSFs and everything else, and change the beta's name to another alien race, you might even be hard-pressed to call this Muv Luv. To my knowledge, in the anime adaptation, no characters from the visual novels even cameo, and if they did, it was so subtle I fucking missed it. But yeah. There's not really much to spoil here for spoiler territory's sake. But if you care about that sort of thing, I guess it's time to get out of here. So, sticking by my thing, somewhere between a D+ and a C-. Now, spoiler time. Okay. So, Yui starts off as a strong female lead that is take no shit, stand up and fight for herself, etc., but devolves into the typical damsel in distress who is constantly saved by Yuya throughout the series. Which happens to be the fate that befalls most of the female cast. They're introduced as strong female characters, but if you break them down, by the end of it, they're all very one note. And it's very disappointing to me. Not to mention, this is something I have a little gripe with. There's a terrorist group that shows up at the end of the anime that's been plotting everything since the beginning, I guess. But we never really find out their true motivations. Again, VN sequel only, I suppose. So because of that, it feels like the ending was a bit forced. Like I said, I can't really say much more on this anime. It's just forgettable, and I don't see myself revisiting it, even as a massive Muv Luv fan myself. I will thank the Swan, though, for getting me into the series. Domi, you've earned yourself a hug, my friend. That being said, what about Muv Luv's future? So, Muv Luv recently announced that it is getting a sequel. The sequel to Alternative called Integrate, as a visual novel, is now in development. And Alternative is getting its own anime adaptation. Please, no. No, no, no. Again, the problem here is they want to adapt the third game in a trilogy into an anime. What the hell is wrong with you? Why would you do that? Which probably means someone's going to get the rights to simuldub it, and I'll be right back here covering it, won't I? Alright. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and again, if you like this anime more than I did, which I'm sure there's a lot of you that did, I've seen a lot of mixed opinions on this one. Some people actually think it's a really good adaptation. Others share my opinion on it. That's cool. I personally don't think this was a good adaptation, though. So, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching. Please comment below and let me know your thoughts on the anime. And if you have any other shows you would like us to cover, leave a comment below as well. And maybe we'll get to them eventually. Until next time, I was Elvis X from the Rex Gaming Community, and, you know, maybe I should cover Rumbling Hearts at some point. I mean, a character from it does cameo in Muv Luv, so I guess it's technically related. I don't know, I'd rather play that VN first, so before anyone suggests that, maybe we should wait till that's translated first. I don't know, we'll see. Thank you all again so much for watching. You have yourselves a great day. Till next time, guys. Till then.